If you're an online coach nowadays, people knowingly brainwash you into believing that fancy landing pages are essential. But in reality, you don't need them. So if you're an online coach and you've ever gotten a cold outbound DM or any sort of advertising from someone advertising their copywriting services, advertising their landing page design services, or maybe even appointment setter services, sometimes also growth operator services, then you might have seen this trick happen over and over again. And let me break down the exact reason why these nuances, why these automations, why these copywriting things are just a waste of your time and what you should do instead. And I can say all of this because we've made our fair share of fancy funnels. Hell, even our own funnel is fancy. So me and my company, Heide Media. But let me tell you why it's a waste of time anyway. This funnel over here can be described as useless and this as overrated. This is our own landing page, and I do think that you don't need a fancy landing page like this in order to be successful. We have scaled multiple coaches from 0 to over 15K a month multiple times, a couple of examples you can see over here, and we have realized that the landing page is only one step in the funnel. It all starts with, first of all, you having to gain awareness and nurture leads, nurture people with the 7-11-4 framework. So people have to watch 7 hours of your content over 11 touch points on 4 platforms. It would look like on Instagram, for example, you have one platform, Instagram, a touch point in the stories, a touch point in an Instagram reel, a touch point in the Instagram bio or another reel, for example. And it's crucial that these content pieces get people from their current state to their desired state where they want to be. So that, for example, if they have a roadblock over here, then you get them over the roadblock with your content. So once that's done, then you can, with a CTA, get them to subscribe to your newsletter. Then you further nurture them in your newsletter. And then after a certain while, you have an offer, a one-time offer, for example. Then you have another CTA leading them to a landing page where you convert those people into actually qualified, booked, and educated sales calls, ready to buy people hopping on the calls. So the conversion side of things would look like they are directed to the landing page, then to the sales call, and from the sales call you close them. Now obviously there are multiple steps to the process, but the landing page itself is only one step of the process. If the email and the Instagram content did not get people aware and nurture them, then the landing page would be no use in and of itself. That means that if you are building a landing page just by itself without having all of the other things logged in, not having your sales calls logged in, your email, your Instagram content, and then building this out in so much detail that you get lost in the design. From the design, you get lost in the color schemes. In the color schemes, you get lost in the primary color and what to choose as your primary color. If you get lost in those things, then all of the other steps, essential steps that would also allow you to even build a full system that allows you to convert people, would get left behind and you would take no use in your new fancy landing page. And this goes the same for fancy appointment setters, email copywriters, or whoever a freelancer is trying to reach out to you and trying to sell you their stuff. And by the way, it's completely understandable on their side. Although not ethical, it's understandable. Because being good in one thing and not taking into account everything else that could go wrong is easier than actually building a process that works from start to finish. And not just one step of the process, not just a very small menial thing. From the beginning to the end, it should work. So this, in summary, is a nuance paralysis. Not getting ahead because you focus too much on those little eeny-beeny tiny things that don't push your business forward and don't help you actually collect cash. They are only a distraction. So let me show you how our exponential funnel actually solved this problem and how the process looks like so that we actually focus on the core business side of things instead of getting lost in the arbitrary nuances. And we know exactly what nuances matter and what details will drive you revenue and what details will just waste our time. So first, you would start with your core limitations, with your ideal client profile, whether or not they have purchasing power, whether or not they have a strong, clear pain, where they are in the process. So you would be selling a very different product to someone trying to lose weight, start their weight loss journey, and other people trying to become bodybuilders and actually build huge amounts of muscle. So then you would structure your offer based on the pain, based on the current situation and the desired state that your client would want to be in. We have separate trainings, all of those. Then you would describe the marketing systems that are most optimal to reach your ideal client profile. So actually, is it short form content? Is it long form content? Is it maybe cold outreach? Whichever it is, this is the point where you decide that. Then you have the sales process where you can lose leads, where you can win more leads. Then your sales skills, so having a person more skilled at sales, then you analyze the sales calls, bringing in a fresh perspective. Then your fulfillment, whether your clients get the results that you're promising them, and you can generate the client testimonials that you want and need in your business. And then lastly, you have your mindset. It's actually one of the most key important things that we see with our clients, because their mindset is very often, because they are coaches, their most important asset. It's the most crucial thing that they can improve. Because as a coach, you're not just teaching a skill set. You're helping people change their life trajectory that they have been on for decades. So if your mindset is not on point, then very often the client does not experience the transformation that you promised them. But then after you have taken a look at all of those aspects, all of those criteria, then you would collect the necessary data that you need to make the right decisions going forward. We have separate videos on all of those. Then you would analyze that data and develop your coaching copy blueprint, your coaching business blueprint. This blueprint, this document, not only defines your niche, your avatar, your primary goals in extreme detail, but it has all of the steps above outlined in one document, so that whenever someone joins your team, and when you get to the point eventually that you can hire an email marketer because you know that it's the next step and not just because they sold you on something completely fancy and out of the blue, then you can hand it to them so that they have full context on who you are selling to, what you are selling to them, and how you help them achieve their goals. But after all of this is done, then you can start to develop your marketing strategy. Notice how we did not just look at a random YouTube video that we saw online. We didn't just take a fancy funnel or fancy strategy, appointment setters, virtual assistants, or email marketers, and we didn't just use them out of the blue without knowing a core business. We figured out the core business, we developed an idea of what we are going to do, and now we can adjust the marketing strategy to actually fit our goals. First, we can then start with the content creation, figure out short form content, long form content, email newsletter, and how these are interlinked, which one is first, which other ones are inspired by the first one, and where the linkings happen. So for example, you can put into your Instagram bio a YouTube link and stuff like that. Okay, once that's figured out, then you can get to the conversion strategy. The conversion strategy, like in the exponential funnel, you can see that you have conversion from short form native, long form native, and newsletter native. Now, in the indirect versions of all of these, then you can link people to other places. Let me show you an example. So, for example, you start on Instagram short form platform, you lead people to a lead magnet, which will then be sent to their email, and then get sent to the newsletter, in which then you have a direct call to action, leading people to your calendar booking. But what else you can do is leading people directly into your direct messages or directly into your calendar from Instagram. So, for example, you can post it into content, into your Instagram stories, or Instagram live streams even. Then an appointment setter, for example, would book them in on a call. You can see that we still use these roles, but they have a very strategic purpose in all of the system. They are not just a standalone person that we work with. They are a part of the process, a very clear strategy that we have. So, for example, an appointment setter normally wouldn't just post stories on your Instagram and having people actually funnel in through the DMs, but you can do that because you you now have a clear system. So from the short form native, from the long form native, and the newsletter native conversions, we then lead people to the same exact calendar booking. We don't have separate ones for all of them. We have a centralized systems working well with few people and a very simplified but yet extremely effective process. After the calendar booking, obviously, for example, we don't take every single person. So every single person who is under 3K a month with their coaching business gets automatically disqualified like so. They are notified of that clearly, but whoever is qualified, they get led to the call confirmation page. From there, they get a confirmation video with some sales assets to nurture them, show them what we do, exact processes that we've taken with clients so that they know exactly what sort of value they can expect. And also this gives us authority because they now know that we have actually delivered for people before. And then once they have received all of the sales assets, then we do a sales call and we discuss their business goals and whether or not our business can help them reach their business goals and whether or not our product solves their problem. So, but if that's the case, then we actually onboard people with this simple 4-step process, asking them of their current state again and essentially having them book an onboarding call. But now you might think to yourself, okay, all of this is great and the exponential funnel looks very cool, but it probably would take me like weeks or months to implement it, right? Well, here's the exact way how you can detect substantial holes in your own funnel today and fix them in the next week or so. First, you have to fix your core business. Who is your ideal client profile? Do they have the purchasing power that you need? Where can you reach them? Are they even present on the platforms that you are currently running? Maybe you started Instagram and TikTok, but essentially you are talking to professionals who are best reached on LinkedIn. So those are a couple of questions that you have to ask yourself. And then what's your before and after? What's your transformation that you sell? What's the offer statement? What's the service delivery look like? What are your activation points and the mechanisms to get every single client to every single activation point to actually generate good testimonials and communicate that clearly in your messaging, the exact process that people will go through. And what is your mission in your coaching business? What are you trying to achieve? How are you going to brand yourself? What is your positioning? So this is the most important thing. But after you have figured this one out, then you would be going over to traffic. What are the best platforms to use? Which ones are necessary, higher leverage? Which one is just unnecessary? What are the best formats that you can use? Is it maybe a Miro board presentation like I'm doing here right now? Or are you even unique or just like others in your space and people don't really see a difference? And what are the content pillars? So what are you making content about? For example, it would be for us marketing systems, personal life management, client wins, and personal wins. It's also essential to be clear to not just be a value brand, be a personal brand, be someone people can trust personally, not just the value like the information. You shouldn't be just a lexicon. Having traffic figured out, you can actually convert people to sales calls. So here you can get into the fancy conversion strategy like you see in the exponential funnel over here. You can also copy this one by one. If you want this document, then book a call below and I'll just give it to you for free. But here you just have to determine what's the fastest way to get people to buy from you today. And also you have to know what's the most sustainable way to get people to buy from you years from now. And combine those two. So that means, for example, for us, when you can see over here, the fastest way to get people to buy from us is making short form direct call to actions in a story. That's the absolute fastest way, or even a live that can be just me picking up a phone and then talking to people that, hey, by the way, buy the product, and then sending them to DM conversations, converting them to sales calls the same day. And I could be collecting calls and collecting cash on that afternoon. But what is the most sustainable way? The most sustainable way is doing long form content, having indirect CTAs leading people to get nurtured even more, so that whenever you want to, you can just send, for example, a newsletter to people and you can draw from that audience. You can exploit, not really exploit, but you can make use of all of the goodwill that you have built up with them. Okay, so you have figured out these two questions over here. Now to sales call messaging. Is it a free consultation that you're selling, a strategy session, a game plan call, application call, or even a demonstration call? It's extremely important, because if your market is saturated, like for example you're a therapist, then you would be better off, if you're not selling like a very unique transformation, better off just doing free consultations. It's lower friction. But if you're a startup and you have a very unique solution that no one else has in the market, no one else is solving that type of specific problem, then you can do a demonstration call, because that's a little bit of higher friction, but people have more frame going into the call so that they know what it's about. Coming to the last bit, this is a cakewalk, to be honest. Actually collecting cash on sales calls. Well, that's a little bit of a lie, but first you would have to set up the payment processors, your contracts, getting extremely clear what that transition process will be of clients agreeing to pay you, then you collecting the payment, and then what sort of contract terms you want to fulfill on. Then from there you have the sales call basics to learn, so how to do a correct discovery, how to do a correct pitch, how to create a pitch deck that you can send to people after the call so that they can get more nurtured before a follow-up, before the second call of things, and you can keep them in the loop. And fourthly, is your onboarding process clear for the buyer, or are there a couple of things that maybe they are not really clear on, maybe they can get lost on? And are you setting them up for success, or are you just leaving them alone and to luck, essentially, whether or not they're going to be successful? Alright, but once you've done all of those things, then you're officially ready to scale your coaching business. And I wish the best for you. By the way, if you're an online coach, consultant, or therapist under 15K a month, then our website is in the first link in the description. If you like our testimonials, like what we do, the process, then just schedule a call below. It's just a very quick discovery. It's essentially not even a pitch. We just literally go over your business, what sort of methods you are using currently, how we could optimize those, whether or not collaboration would make sense. But if not, then we will still give you a couple of new ideas of methods and strategies that you can implement tomorrow, essentially, to make progress in your coaching business and start the new year off correctly. So if that's interesting, then schedule a call below. But if not, completely fine with that. I wish you a very nice day. Bye-bye.